everyone, thank you so very much for your loyalty to Global Television, which we do not take for granted at all. I'm Wiyad Mofegbe, and it's with so much delight we welcome you to Global Morning. It's Thursday. The week again is inching close to its end, but we're grateful that for the first day of the working week, we're back here again. And we believe we will be able to make the most of it and make it worth whatever amount of time you're spending with us today on the program. Just to mention that we're live in Abuja, Nigeria's capital, and Jumai Manson was rocking a bit in the background. I would say what she was doing. She was almost dancing, but now she realizes that
you had to let the cat out of the bag, so the whole world.
The cat didn't come in the bag.
You had to anyway, good morning, we are
good morning,
It's great to be side by side with you, to do this with you.
I always relish that pleasure.
And good morning to each and every one of you out there. Hope you're having an amazing time. Hope you woke up well, hale and hearty. The weather is fantastic, by the way. And of course, it's great to be here. And yes, it's Global Morning.
Yes, it is. Speaking of weather, we understand it's going to be a mix of sun and cloud. Today, in some parts, there will be rain, but we also have realized that the last couple of days, temperatures have dropped appreciably, especially in places like Abuja and somewhere up north as well. So if you have rains, be grateful. If you have sun, make the most of it as well. Exactly. Because like weather, like everything else in the world, there's just nothing that stays the same. So what you have to do is plan around this and make sure you maximize the opportunities that come with it.
And very important to take precautionary measures when it comes to these issues. And yeah, like you said, plan around it is very important. And that's why you have the weather forecast. You should take advantage and always listen to it and know how to prepare your day and know what to do, quickly do, or what not to do, or where not to go at the same time. But it's very important that you just plan around it.
Right, by all means, you should plan around it, because in the end, what really matters is that we're going to always have times and seasons. And there's nothing we can do about those. It's a default setting for the environment. Well, it's a great day, no doubts about that. Nigeria is still politicking for all of the obvious reasons. Yesterday was remarkable in our political journey as a country. We saw members of the African Democratic Congress protesting in Abuja. We saw all of their leaders,
Yes, we did.
Apart from, Madam Nasir El-Rufai, who is in the custody of the ICPC at the moment. But all the other leaders of the party came together and they protested. They said, look, they do not want Nigeria to be turned into a one-party state. The President Bola Tinubu, the leaders of the APC have said repeatedly, time and again, that look, nobody can turn Nigeria into a one-party state. And for those of you who think Nigeria, or who assume Nigeria is being turned into a one-party state because you see governors and several other senior members of the opposition decamping or defecting into our party, you're getting it twisted.
Yes.
These guys are coming in because they've seen the transformation, they've seen the reforms we're pursuing, they've seen the outcomes of those reforms barely 3 years into office. So those are the incentives that move or push them into our party. But then again, yesterday evening, leaders of the ADC, they held a meeting here in Abuja where very dramatically Governor Seyi Makinde of Oyo State was at that meeting. Of course, for the record, Seyi Makinde is a member of the PDP.
Yes, he is.
So ironically, you're wondering what on earth was he doing at a closed-door meeting with the leaders of the ADC? As of today, is the only one you can officially call a member of the PDP, because we understand Governor Bala Mohammed, who is supposed to be his partner in that party as a governor, is likely going to move the next couple of days, even though we don't have a sure word on that just yet. But the point being made here is there are now speculations and insinuations in several quarters that Governor Seyi Makinde will likely be joining forces with the ADC, because as it stands right now, the PDP doesn't seem to be promising for him. Apparently, Nyesom Wike is the national leader of that party as of today, and that has been the case for a couple of months now. Makinde and Wike do not see eye to eye when it comes to political matters. So, and they say you can have two masters in one boat.
So you cannot. You cannot. But hopefully, let's see what this brings, basically. And of course, let's just see what it entails.
Right.
You know, for a lot of speculations that we know, but they're all allegations. But let's just keep our fingers crossed that it brings the greater good, to the benefit. I always say it's not about the political parties, it's not about the individuals, it's whom you represent. That's Nigeria and Nigerians. That's the most important. What benefit will it bring to us at the end of the day? Well, let's see. Hopefully it's not a one-party state like we've heard, but of course the APC have done a lot, and that's the attraction, that's the driving force of what they bring to the table. That's why most of these governors are actually defecting, or like say run into the APC. But let's just see what it brings in the long run.
Of course, we have to wait here and see what it brings on the long run. Well, let's take a quick break now, everyone. I can assure you that the program is going to be as engaging, as informative today. Please stay with us. Wake up with Global Morning, your daily guide to what's happening and making the rounds.
We delve into headlines, newspaper reviews, spot-on analysis, policies, current events, real talk, real issues that affect us all.
From the latest trends to the debate, every topic, every angle, Global Morning is where it all starts.
Global Morning,
For the latest issues,
always on point.
watch Global Morning Monday to Friday at 7 a.m., Saturday and Sunday at 8 a.m. on Global Television.
So we're talking about the weather a while ago, talking about issues that have to do with, well, the seasons. Rain 1 minute, the next you have sun, and then following with that you have Harmattan. Now the federal government is warning of possible flooding in at least 10 states. Of course, sadly so, you can say Nigerians are not strangers to flooding, but the devastating impact that it always has every time it occurs is what gives citizens that sleepless night. Becomes very nightmarish for them. So normally when you have advisory about weather, about possible flooding in any part of the country, in this instant case, 10 states, what are you supposed to do? What's the responsibility of the state governments? Advisories like this should be for the purpose of planning. It's called warning sign for a reason. So you know exactly what is coming, how it's coming, what the scale will be, and that way you're able to ask yourself, what measures do we need to put in place early enough? What will be the cost implication of such measures? Because most times we become reactive instead of being proactive.
Yes.
We are seeing flood do damage, in some cases irreversible, in this country time and again. Yet when there's flooding problem in those states, it's as if the states are helpless. It's as if the states were caught on guard, whereas you knew these weeks or even months before it actually happened. All right. But then the irony of it all, if you ask me, Juma, is that every state has a state emergency management agency, which means that there's a mandate, there's a remit for that for such agencies. So the question is, why is it that they come undone, as my President Oshimbajo would say, once there's flooding? Is it like they have paucity of funds? Is it like the large essential critical resources? Is it like they don't have the manpower, or they're just there on paper, more like a toothless bulldog? But in the end, the real concern is that flooding will come at one point in time or another. And when that happens, whether it's because of climate change or issues of negligence in communities, or government not doing its part because of gully-related problems or not, livelihoods will be washed away. Of course, houses cleaned out, and of course, in most cases, lives are even lost to it. So when you have this kind of advisory coming from NIMET, for example, or any of such government agencies, I think state governments must, by all means, put on their thinking cap.
No, it's very important. Like, I always make reference to Bayelsa Udi. Like, when that flood happened in 2000, that really extensive flood, it happens on a yearly, but the one in 2022, that houses were nothing to write home about.
Right.
That particular state I don't think they've recovered, because at about last year, when friends of mine visited and I also visited, it's the same. You could see that it's still a work in progress. And it's unfortunate that we do not take precautionary measures. Flooding will definitely come. The erosions will come. It's just that we're very lackadaisical. When it's the dry season, that's when we're supposed to work and say, okay, these are the preventives we're putting in place to avoid it. Definitely it's going to come, but let's see how we can actually douse the situation. What can we put in place? What can we build? What can we, it's very important. But it's just unfortunate that we are always lackadaisical, and that is why every year in, year in, we still undergo the same. I won't be shocked that we're going to report flooding in some states. No, I will not be shocked, because
and the devastation
which will cause lives, property, individuals. It's just unfortunate. And if you hear the gully stories, like there was a report about a woman who was walking with her, is it a 3-year-old, and the water just took that child. It's just unfortunate that you hear such issues, and yet we do not put measures in place to avoid these sorts of ills that happen in our society. And I think we're too lackadaisical, and I think we put all the weight on the government. You and I, in our own little way, it's just like security now. I'm sorry to diversify, but it's just the same as security. You cannot say, I'm waiting for the government to come and put burglaries around my house or do all. You have to take precautionary measures. You know that you have to clear the gutters in front of your house to avoid what will cause flooding and all of these things. You know that you have to try as much as possible to get individuals around you to, sanitation is very, very important. And yet we just fold our arms, and we're just lackadaisical from the government to we as the citizens. It's just unfortunate that this lackadaisical attitude needs to stop. Floodings will come, and we don't want to preempt what it will lead to, but we've seen it from years to come. So it's just unfortunate, but we have a lot to do when it comes to that area, especially making the most of it during the dry season.
Right. Incidentally, the warning was issued by the National Flood Early Warning Center, which is an arm of the Federal Ministry of Environment. It states very clearly that communities in states like Ebonyi, Anambra, Ogun, Taraba, Cross River, Benue, Imo, Delta, Rivers, and Abia are among the areas likely to witness a heavy rainfall that may trigger flooding during the period. Incidentally, I mean, this is a bit of sarcasm. These states have governors, and of course, if we are aware of this early warning, these governors and the relevant ministries in those states are also aware. So at this point in time, as they say, ignorance of the law is not an excuse.
It's not an excuse. And this is not the first time we get warnings from
agencies of the
government. Right. Yes, exactly. We've gotten before, and yet we still record high cases of loss of lives, loss of properties, and all of that. Meaning, no precautionary measures were taken into consideration. So it's unfortunate. We get all of these warnings almost every single time. We got last year by Yelsa. We got from the Lokoja axis. That's Kogi State. We got from Lagos, and then yet it's still the same old, same old. And what are these individuals in government doing? They just fold their hands. Well, I would not know, but if they are doing something, a lot needs to be done, and we need to see it. It needs to be visible and clear that they're actually working so that lives will not be lost and properties will not be damaged, because it still falls on the government. It still falls on the government of the state if things are not in order. If there's flood, if there's loss of lives and properties, it still falls on you. So it's better you try as much as possible to avoid all of that, so you don't even go into being indebted and you start all over again with entrepreneurship programs. You start all over again with, we know it's they say we are the rice. I don't want to go into that, but we start all again with palliatives and all of that. So it's better you kickstart where you've started from and make the most of it to avoid all of this, because it's really a menace in our society.
They say it's teaching 9 saves 9. Hopefully those who are supposed to provide leadership in this regard do not also take all of that for granted. Well, let's take a break now. Ramsey Enoch Agbo, as always, is standing by with Heart to Heart Inspirational.
So many thanks for joining us once again on Heart to Heart Inspirational. We just want to inspire you, encourage you. And of course, my name is Ramsey Enoch Agbo. Now, do you know that there is this belief that everyone feels that they are behind? You ask a lot of people, and some people even tell their colleagues, their neighbors, their friends, their family members that they are behind. But let me tell you something right here. I want to start by correcting that lie that many of us have believed for too long. It's been a long time that a lot of people believe this lie. I want to say it is a lie, okay? It depends on what I want to say now. When someone say, I'm late, I'm late. And a lot of people have crashed out of destiny. A lot of people have mixed it in life because they feel I'm late. Hey, she's married, I'm not married. Oh my God. She's rich, I'm not rich. Oh, she's gotten admission, but look at me right here. But nobody is saying, oh, she's dead. Why am I not dead? Has anybody said that? Nobody is saying, oh, some of my mates are mad. Why am I not mad? I should. They don't tell themselves that they should be mad also because somebody is in their category or at their age level is mad, or maybe probably late or dead. Why are you not saying, all right, you should be dead or you should be mad? The same way you're thinking that, oh, you should be rich because the other person is rich and you are of the same age grade or classmate or something or neighbor, whatever. That's the reason I said it's a lie. When you are being forced to believe that you are late, and a lot of people, because they feel they are late now, they do nothing anymore. Because that is their mindset, because that's what they believe. But then I should further let you know this. Others ahead of you doesn't mean that you are late, because you are also ahead of someone. That's it. But hear me clearly today that you are not behind. All right. We live in a world obsessed with a lot of comparison. Social media shows us edited victories. A lot of victories you see, a lot of successes you see on social media are edited victories. All right. In the real sense of it, you meet some of these people one-on-one, you will be shocked. Hey, come on. Is that the person I see on social media? It is edited victories. All right. There are a lot of people that are living with struggles, but they come on social media and they paint everything like they don't have any issue. You see some families not doing well, some husband and wife not doing well, then you see them on social media, it will appear as if they are the best couple in the world. I'm not saying you should show, all right, the ugly situations you're facing in your family. It's not everything you bring on social media. I'm aware of that. But then you don't need to pattern your life based on what you see on social media. All right, that has made a lot of people get into some acts that they are not supposed to get into. If you see some people's resolution for 2026, you would be shocked. A lot of people want to be successful because they feel they are late. Someone just told me today that, well, he traveled, and you see a lot of people, just little boys who have involved themselves in one or two things, driving big cars, and the people who are doing genuine and legitimate things don't even have that kind of car. That's a wrong comparison, if you ask me, though the person didn't fall for what they were driving. He didn't fall for it, and he was sharing with me today. But we need to know that there are so many things that have happened behind the scene with someone else's highlight reel and conclude would fail. But life is not a race. Life is a journey with different routes, all right, different terrains and different timings. So if it is not your route, if it is not your terrain, if it's not your timing, and you want to force it, you may miss it, you may crash. If you go up too early, you may crash very early. A lot of people have faced that in the past. Some people are blown early and some fade early too, and others are slow burn successes. Some start strong and crash, others struggle quietly and rise suddenly. Timing is not a sign of failure, it is a sign of design. That time you're taking your time, it's as if you are in the workshop. Very soon you come to the showroom and people will be wondering, where has he been? He was in the showroom having wilderness experience, putting himself together, refining himself, designing himself so that he can come out successful. You know, there are times that you need to be alone, sit alone, think positively, and know what to do per time. You don't run after people. People's successes shouldn't derail you, shouldn't make you miss what you are supposed to do. Because as a matter of fact, what looks like delay is often development process. What feels like waiting is often preparation. And you are being equipped emotionally, mentally, and spiritually and strategically for what you are about to handle. So nobody should tell you that you are late, that you're not married yet, doesn't mean you're not going to get married. That you're not rich yet doesn't mean you're not going to get rich. It's all about times and season. Except if you're not positioned well. For every proper positioning, there would always be a proper positioning. If you position well, you possess well. If you arrive early without capacity, without success, you will be destroyed. Because you can only, let me tell you something, you can get to the top, but what keeps you at the top is your character. All right, if you don't have character and charisma, one day you would be displaced from the top. So you need to prepare yourself very well for every success that you're thinking of in your heart. If it is in your heart, it will get into your head, and one day it will enter your hand. But if you get it fast without wisdom, you would lose it faster. Okay, let me just give this illustration. Think of an aircraft, for instance, before takeoff. It accelerates on the runway for a very long time before it gets off the track and fly and leave the ground. If it doesn't maintain that timing on the runway for that number of time, it can never accelerate. So that period that you are time is the preparation period for your takeoff. So don't allow anyone discourage you or tell you that you are late, you are behind, or whatever. To the untrained eye, it looks like delay, but without the runway, the plane cannot lift. Some of you are still on the runway, but lift is coming, lift is coming, you will be lifted. So what do you have to do? Okay, stop comparing yourself. The comparing chapter, you should close it. And stop apologizing for your pace. You don't owe anybody any apology for your pace, because it's only you that know what you are cooking. Start now as we speak, trusting your process, because any process you don't trust cannot work for you. Like I tell people, you don't sit under an imam that you don't believe in. You don't sit under a pastor that you don't believe in, all right? Because whatever, if the pastor is pronouncing blessing and you don't believe in that pastor, it is a cause for you. The same thing for the imam too, all right? So whatever process you don't believe in, any system you don't believe in, you don't have any business, all right, staying under that system. Delay, like they say, is not denial, and it is preparation in disguise. So you are not behind and you are not being aligned, and when your time comes, you won't just arrive, but you will be ready. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful day, and remember that you are a success going somewhere to happen. Don't allow anyone talk you down. Don't allow anyone tell you that you are late. Your time is coming, and that's the best time for you. Have a beautiful day. Bye-bye for now.
All right, you're welcome back. And if you're just tuning in, this is Global Morning on Global Television. And that segment was Heart to Heart Inspirational with Ramsey Enoch Agbo. And hope you were well inspired. And now at about this point is the newspaper review segment. And we're starting with the first paper of the day, and it is the Punch newspaper. And above the nameplate, it says Northeast logs nearly 2,000 explosions in 7 years. And that's from reports. And the next says that news is on page 2 of the Punch newspaper. And on page 20, it says World Bank flags fiscal risk in Nigeria's 4 trillion naira power bond. And next on page 7, it says 2027, INEC registers 3 to 4 million new voters. All right. And on the side of the nameplate, it says Aliyah Alome Rift threatens Benue NAS members re-election bid. And that's on page 16. And then the star story there says, oh, pardon me, it's Akume. I didn't see that. And then the star story says 2027 alignment, Wike-backed PDP fumes over Makinde ADC alliance plans. And that's on page 2. And then, of course, the rider says, Oyo Governor Atiku Obi Kwakwaso Amechi mark bold high stakes meeting new platforms. And below that, it says Senate President Governor unveils Lagos mega project. And still on the foot of the Punch newspaper, it says Youth Rally Jonathan for 2027 presidential bid. And it says 500 level student dies during football match. And it says Bauchi APC split over governor's defection move. And basically those are all the headlines on the Punch newspaper. Please go out and get yourself a copy and be well abreast with the issues making rounds. Next, we have the Daily Trust. Over to you, Louis.
All right, thank you, Juma. The Daily Trust is essentially is a bit, well, let's say it just has a handful of headlines for you this morning, but then we begin with the three right beneath the nameplate. Top right corner of it, it says, Nigeria not collapsing, federal government replies. civil society organizations. Trust TV wins Best Documentary Award. That's basically at the Broadcasters Organization of Nigeria. Was a big event yesterday here in Nigeria's capital, right, where excellence was duly rewarded. Nigeria's inflation remains high despite rebasing. That's according to the World Bank. And then lastly, the Star headline says 2027 ADC PDP close ranks. Well, we saw that happening yesterday evening. Hopefully Nigeria wins in the end. Those are all the headlines from the Daily Trust this morning for you. Please be sure to read up details and stay ahead of the news. Next is the Guardian newspaper.
All right, now the Guardian newspaper, and below the nameplate it says CSO youth storm Goodluck Ebele Jonathan's office, urge him to contest, and that's on page 3. And it says here, finality of Supreme Court ruling does not translate to in public's eye. I'm trying to see what that is. And of course, on page 3, it says 2027, don't give power to APC by boycotting polls, Adebayo urged Nigerians. And the Star story reads, opposition explores options as ADC, PDP question INEC's neutrality. And that's on page 6. And below that, it says, Nigeria making progress, not on the bank of collapse, and that's the federal government assures. And NCCA warns of flight delays, cancellations during rainy season. Okay, that's on page 5. And below that it says Apabio commissions Lagos project tax states on more than Nigeria, and that's on page 7. And still on the Guardian, it says here 2 years later, activists community urge military to release Okoma detainees. We're still on that.
The one in Delta State.
Yes, of course. The incident that happened in Delta State. Very gruesome. World Bank multinational poverty threatening Nigeria's economic potentials, and that's on page 27. And basically, those are all the major headlines on the Guardian newspaper. Please go out and get yourself a copy and be well abreast with the issues making rounds. Next, the Daily Sun.
All right, let's take a look at the Daily Sun quickly for you now. It says, I just had the nameplates, 2027, that's the kicker. PDP ADC leaders meets may forge common front. How common that front will be is yet to be seen. But then we have another one here that says, World Bank, Nigeria others under pressure as debt inflation threaten our growth. That's not a good place to be as an economy. What more do we have? It says ADC, that's the Star headline now. Mark Atiku Obi orders protest at INEC with rather telling us insists on Amubuton's sack. By the way, the chairman of INEC got a haircut. I don't know if anyone else noticed that. I just thought we should mention that as well. All right.
Why?
Well,
really,
no. I mean, when he came in, he had so much of hair and his look. I mean, more like a makeover. I don't know if men are allowed to use that term, or is it exclusively for women?
No, it's fine.
Oh, thank you. I have Jemai's approval to use that term. Yeah, I'm very, very grateful. But let's return to the front page of our paper, everyone, and see more headlines for you from the front page of the paper. Quickly, now, we were looking at, let's see here, this just a while ago, the Daily Sun newspaper, all right? The big one there, we already brought you that. But you go further down, you find a handful of headlines that says Plateau. So let's see what it says there. It says Plateau escapes curfew or relaxes curfew in Jos, now dusk to dawn. Better than it was, but then again, the state is still trying to recover from the recent attacks there. All right, what more do we have? Beneath that, 2 more headlines. There says police raid Enugu criminal hideouts, arrest suspects, destroy drug bunks. Just when you think some things are not possible, you realize that they can be more possible than you can imagine. Well, those are all the headlines from the Daily Sun this morning. Our next port of call will be the Vanguard newspaper, which has very scanty headlines, by the way.
Yes, we do have very scanty headlines on the Vanguard newspaper. One basically that captures the moment is ADC lists 6-point demands at INEC protest. And it has a lot of writers there. You have to go get yourself a copy of the Vanguard newspaper to be well abreast with all of these major headlines for you to know and be well informed. And next we have the business day.
So let's break things up a little away from politics now and take a look at business and then follow the money, as they say. All right. Here it says FTSE Frontier upgrade ignites Seplat GTO Zenith rally. That's talking about the stock market. All right. So you can follow that to understand what the trend has been, at least for this week so far. Lower petrol prices imminent as global oil prices plunge 15%. Again, not so much from the business day today, but let's also encourage you, for those who are very interested in business news, to look up details as we now take a look at the Nigerian News Direct.
All right, now the Nigerian News Direct, and the star story there on page 35 says consumers failed to pay over 63 billion naira to discos in January. And basically, that's the major headline there. But it says here, again, it says, we are working continuously to leave Lagos better than we met it. That's from Sanwo-Olu. And that read you will get on page 5. And moving on, it says NNPC Limited attributes increase production output to pipeline security reforms. And next it says here, incidents of large-scale insurgent control have significantly decreased. ADC leaders protest at INEC headquarters in Abuja, FTSE Russell. And you have to go get yourself a copy of the Nigerian News Direct to understand what the major headlines are saying and be well informed. Next, we have the New Telegraph.
All right. World Bank projects Nigeria's inflation to ease to 14.9% this year, lowers SSA's growth forecast to 4.1%. Middle East ceasefire crashes Nigeria's crude oil price by 26.9%. Is that a blessing or otherwise? Well, those details you will find on page 8. 4 more headlines beneath the nameplates. Top left, with a picture of Chief Adebayo Adelabu, Minister of Power. It says Gencos confirm participation in federal government's 3.3 trillion naira legacy debt payment plan. INEC urges fair, accurate media coverage of 2027 polls. CVR, that's continuous voter registration. Jigawa, Lagos, Kano lead as INEC records 3,441,121 registrations. Incidentally, the chairman of INEC, Professor Joshua Mukbito, was at the Bonn event yesterday where he spoke very extensively about the pivotal role that the media plays in not just election cycles, but democracy. Pipeline surveillance. National Assembly dismisses petitions against Tom Polo's firm. That's on page 5. Middle East crisis. Iran closes Strait of Hormuz over Israeli attacks on Lebanon. Trump accuses CNN of picking fake news from Nigerian news sites. That's on pages 2 and 5. Very interesting. But then that story has a picture of the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, Bibi, as it's fondly called. All right, star headline here has a kicker, more like a hashtag, says, Occupy INEC, Atiku, Obi, Kwankwaso, others join ADC rally over INEC's decisions. It's got 2 riders with it. Party submits protest letter to commission. Mark, no cause for alarm, challenges natural parts of growing institution. Tinubu commissions iconic Lagos projects, commends Sanwo-Olu's commitment to transformative governance. We had brought you those details earlier in our news reporting. 2027 ADC PDP leaders meets, may forge alliance. As parties acknowledge growing shared threat confronting opposition, meeting will continue, says Makinde. Yes, he did say that yesterday, mentioned very clearly that what he had come to do was to solidarize, as it were, with his fellow opposition members. Discussions centered on possibility of uniting to challenge APC. That's attributed to source. Electoral crisis. Ex-US diplomat urges global focus on Nigeria over alleged judges' manipulation. INEC has usurped powers of the judiciary, says Akirika. Nigerians shouldn't boycott 2027 polls. SDP, quite an extensive read, just to mention, on pages 3, 4, 9, and 10. And lastly, right on the foot of the front page, my favorite, says seafood virus linked to emerging human eye disease. Seafood virus linked to emerging human eye disease. That's according to a study which details you can find on page 30. For my friends who are fond of seafood, he that hath an ear. All right. Those are your headlines, all of them from the New Telegraph this morning. Be sure, as always, to read up details. And Juma will bring us headlines from the Blueprint newspaper.
All right, now the Blueprint newspaper. Above the nameplate, it says, NAS passes confident vote on pipeline surveillance, dismisses petitions against Tantita. And that news you will find on page 13. And below the nameplate, it says here, Middle East, oil prices fall as U.S., Israel, Iran agree to ceasefire. And that's on page 18. And on page 19, it says, any bank's foreign unit profit before tax hits 331.7 billion naira. And on the sports news on page 32, it says, Unity Cup, Super Eagles to face Zimbabwe in opening match. Okay. And then, of course, it says, federal government to critics, Nigeria remains resilient, stable, not on the brink of collapse. Okay, and we have two writers there. Moments of reform requires discipline, patience, patriotism, and that's from Idris and Tanimo. And the next writer says, we're committed to infrastructure investments, good governance, and that's from our dear President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And at the side there, it says, Zamfara bandits planning reprisals after heavy losses. And that's from reports there. And at the foot below that, it says, ADCD recognition. Atiku, Obi, Kwakwaso, others lead protests to INEC. And it says here, Dangote refinery reaffirms no increase in PMS prices. And that's on page 18. Basically, those are all the major headlines on the Blueprint newspaper Thursday edition. Go out and get yourself a copy and be well informed with the major issues making rounds. And next, over to you, Uyi.
Incidentally, the last is the Nigerian Tribune for you on the show. It says, why Tinubu didn't attend project commissioning in Lagos presidency. Lagos has raised bar in quality projects delivery. That's credited to President Bola Tinubu. Details on page 2. Pipeline surveillance contracts, that's your kicker. National Assembly committees pass vote of confidence in Tantita, NMPCL, others on page 4. And then we have the big one, ADC Turaki-led PDP meets explore 2027 options. Of course, that's a no-brainer now. All right, those details are on page 2. But then we have a few riders with it. We paid solidarity visits to ADC, PDP group. Nigeria must commit to a clean democratic space. That was part of the 3-minute speech by Governor for your state, Sheikh Makinde, last night. Atiku Obi, Kwankwaso, Makinde, Wabara, Ghana, others attend a meeting. ADC leaders protest at INEC headquarters. The writer says, ask Commission to withdraw offensive correspondence to party threaten coordinated civic action. And 2 more headlines to go here. Delta State's governor approves 200,000 naira monthly tax-free allowance for medical doctors. It's better than nothing, right? Our federal government's 501 billion naira bond raises strong indicator of market confidence. That's the assessment by the generation companies, that is power generation companies of Nigeria. And that is a full circle here on the newspaper review segment of Global Morning. As always, it will be nice and very strategic, for whatever it's worth, for you to read up all the details of these headlines we presented to you this morning. And we always would remind you that Global Television, as a broadcast media entity, or the team here on Global Morning, does not in any way contribute to these headlines or their details. We present them to you exactly as published by their respective publishers. We are taking a quick break now. Up next is Social Bars with Ogochukwu Mobodo. Wake up with Global Morning, your daily guide to what's happening and making the rounds.
We delve into headlines, newspaper reviews, spot-on analysis, policies, current events, real talk, real issues that affect us all.
From the latest trends to the debate, every topic, every angle, Global Morning is where it all starts.
Global Morning,
For the latest issues,
always on point.
watch Global Morning Monday to Friday at 7 a.m., Saturday and Sunday at 8 a.m. on Global Television.
At Wichtech Cables, we don't just make cables, we deliver excellence. Our products are built with advanced technology, trusted for their unmatched quality and durability. With a wide range of cables, swift delivery, and continuous innovation, we stay ahead of the market demand. We are proudly Nigerian, fully indigenous, yet world-class. Backed by a professional team, strong technical support, and a deep commitment to customer satisfaction. Wichtech Cables is more than a brand, it's a promise. Wichtech Cables, quality cables better than the best.
Quality doesn't start on the shelf. It starts at the factory. At Aerogym Garments Factory, every stitch reflects precision, comfort, and creativity. Across our production floor, more than 10,000 fabrics move through daily, becoming up to 5,000 finished garments, from senators to chinos, jeans to polos, t-shirt, singlet, overall, customized jacket, safety wear, school uniform, and more. When garments need to look professional, fit properly, and last, choose a factory that delivers excellence every time. Go for Aerogym Garments product, located at number 1 Pound Road behind the Nigeria Correctional Service, Aba, Abia State, Nigeria. For inquiries, call 091-2645-3399 or 070-3009-3944 or 080-6573-8374 or call 091-31673668. Email info@aerogym.com. Website www.aerogymdesign.com. Aerogym, where excellence crafted for confidence.
Our language, our vibrant culture and colorful tradition, our industrious and hospitable people. This is Nigeria, a nation that prides itself in abundant human and natural resources. From east to west, north to south, we sparkle, we shine, we have a common bond. Fellow Nigerians, let's do away with ethnic, religious and regional sentiments that divide us as a people. God has blessed us and empowered us to find strength in diversity. Let's make our faith and way of worship our source of unity as we build a nation that stays united. Nigeria, together today, together always. This is a public announcement brought to you by Global.
When social media speaks, we listen and we bring you the extra. It's your one-stop shop for trends, tweets, and the tea everyone's sipping on. Join the conversation, share your thoughts, and get that extra dose of what's shaking the internet.
And the issues making wave on social media to your doorstep.
Social Boss Extra, where the trend meets the talk, only on Global TV.
Good morning, viewers. This is Social Boss Extra, Social Boss on Global Morning, and we're here to bring you what's trending on social media. And today we're going into politics. A wave of political tension is unfolding in Nigeria's capital as prominent leaders and supporters take to the streets in a bold show of concern over the state of democracy. Top political figures including Peter Obi, Atiku Abubakar, David Mark, Dino Melaye, and activist Aisha Yusufa alongside other Nigerians have staged a protest in Abuja. The demonstration tagged Save Democracy protest is taking place right in front of, took place rather right in front of the Independent National Electoral Commission headquarters in Abuja yesterday. Protesters were seen dressed in branded Operation Save Our Democracy t-shirts, while others carried placards bearing strong messages, including call for the removal of the INEC chairman. This development comes just days after INEC announced it would no longer recognize the leadership of the ADC faction led by David Mark. Let's take a look at the video from that protest yesterday. quite a large crowd in front of the INEC headquarters here in Abuja. And, when we heard about this yesterday, I just started asking myself several questions. Like, I had a lot of questions in my head going on. But then again, social media is buzzing right now because, some other persons had dug out the protest led by their president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, a long time ago when he protested against the Independent National Electoral Commission here in Abuja too. Also, let's take a look at that video.
Today, mark the first morning signal for INEC as an institution. They do not represent the interests of Nigerians. They are all compromised electoral officers. They have committed criminal offenses by rigging elections against Nigerians.
All right, so I've been wondering, why did they bring out this picture? Because this picture is trending so much. Well, we'll look at why it happened. Let's take a look at some comments from social media. And the first comment is coming from Ashabi Lux. And Ashabi says, so Dino, Rauf, David Mark are now protesting for what they largely contributed to. Okay. All right, second comments from Omoyeme Special. And Omoyeme says, let's save Nigeria together. Yes, we can. Power is in the hands of the people. I agree with you. It's in the hands of the people. The last comment today, but not the least, is coming from, let's take a look at the last comment. All right, Franklin. And Franklin says, this government should trade with caution. Nigeria is on the edge of a civil war. This country will collapse in the slightest spark. At this point, I will have to demonstrate my true Nigerianship. God forbid we will not collapse. Honestly, I wouldn't want this country to collapse. It's a beautiful country. I love my country, by the way. So let's talk about the protest yesterday led by ADC, members there. We saw the likes of David Mark, we saw Ongoso and also his followers, the Congosians. We also saw Peter Obi, we saw David Mark, we saw Amechi. A lot of them, they were all there trying, protesting against what the INEC had done earlier, this week. And what I'm asking myself is, I don't know why I would cook in my house and blame my neighbor who came to partake of that food for making the food not to be sweet. I don't know if you get that, but we'll get that later as we discuss about it. All right, I have with me Uyi Agumofwe. Good morning, Uyi.
Good morning, Chiku.
All right, so let's talk about the protest yesterday. And, social media users have gone to dig out the protest by now President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, a protest he did years back, against the Independent National Electoral Commission, calling them a fake body and saying, alleging that they were all being compromised and cannot even handle election properly. So let's take a look. We'll handle this one now, then we'll talk about that one. So what do you think about yesterday's protest?
All right. What I can say at this point, and even if this is the only thing I say to you, Godchiko, I'm satisfied, is the fact that it's going to be a long night for both the ruling APC and for the opposition, whatever opposition means, whether it's the ADC or APGA or Labour or PDP or all of them together, it's going to be a long night.
Why do you say so?
But there's also a chance that it's going to be a longer night for the opposition than it will be for the ruling party. Because, for many reasons, in Nigeria, we talk about the incumbency factor, the power of incumbency, the advantage of incumbency, and what have you. But here's the thing, really. When you have a system like we do in Nigeria, where it is not so much about what is wrong, it's about who has done wrong, it's about who the wrong favors, just like with corruption. All right, that's where we are right now. Has there ever been any government in Nigeria since 1999 where you say the president or the party in power at that point in time was organically, was genuinely, was honestly, all right, interested in reforms in terms of how INEC is managed, how INEC is run, how elections are conducted? Has there been any? The only person who came close who came close was the late Musa Yaradua of blessed memory. That's one man till today. People say, look, if death had not been mischievous in the manner I was speaking, that's the only man Nigerians could have trusted to bring real reforms. And the man showed the signs very clearly. He comes into office and almost immediately he says, look, the election that produced me was marred with irregularities. It was seriously flawed. And one of the things we must do now and going forward is to ensure that we bring real reforms. And that was how he set up the Ways panel. The report from that panel, we understand at best right now, is gathering dust at the villa. Who is going to implement those reforms? Did President Jonathan not see those reforms? Did he not see the report? Was the report not submitted to him? Did late Muhammadu Buhari, the former president, not see that report? Did he not spend 8 years there? Did he do anything about the report? Has Bola Tinubu, the president, not done almost 3 years in office? Has he not seen the report? Is he not aware of the report? Now, what's the long and short of the story of Gochuku? It is to say that reforms are not just about what you say. It's not just about the rhetorics. It's about the genuine thinking, the people interests, the sincerity of purpose that you bring to it. Now, if we circle back to yesterday's protest, what are the issues? First of all, the African Democratic Congress says, look, we can't continue like this. Opposition is being stifled and suppressed. APC, again, the ADC alleges, is bent on turning Nigeria into a one-party state. An accusation, an allegation that is not only weighty, but one that the APC has denied again and again and again, as my daughter would say. Now, what's the point here? It is to say that this is a fight or a clash of titans. APC and PDP being the titans as it stands right now. I mean, ADC, I should say. But yesterday was also a bit of a turning point. It may not be in practice, but in terms of the perspective of Nigerians and indeed the political class. Because Sheyi Makinde, the governor of Oyo State, who is a very ranking member, some people even say the leader of his own faction of the PDP, as it were, was at a meeting with the ADC yesterday in the very residence of the Mark, who is the national chairman of the embattled ADC. So the question is, hold on a second, what exactly could be the reason, what could be the rationale behind, a PDP governor, serving governor, coming to attend the meeting of the ADCs, of the ADC members? But he said something yesterday because, reporters were not allowed to ask questions. He said within 3 minutes that, look, this visit is one of solidarity. It is to show very clearly and speak very loudly that Nigeria needs to have a clean, democratic space. That's what he said. As to whether or not he wants to join forces, he wants to align with the ADC, we can't be very sure at this point in time. But as they say, the handwriting is already on the wall. But the question is, who is afraid of the ADC? Is the APC really feeling threatened by the ADC? Does the APC see the ADC as a formidable opposition? We may not be able to say, but we do know that the APC is generally concerned. Yes, politicians will always put up a front. But again, what they say behind closed doors is another thing altogether. But in a final analysis of Gochuku, this is going to be a very tough, if you like, campaign period. Because whether you like it or not, INEC may not have flagged off campaign, but politicians know that campaign has started.
All right, so with what we have seen so far, this whole process actually started after INEC did not recognize ADC, which is the faction led by David Mark. What led to that? Because we've been hearing, I hear ADC should go prepare their house, ADC should go, make sure that everything is fine in their house before coming out. So it's more like there is an in-house issue. I also heard this morning when someone said to me, I think, okay, that's from the radio. I listened to the radio this morning on my way to work, and someone was saying the ADC have issues in their house from the chairman not being the chairman, from resignation, a forced resignation to a false signature. A lot is happening in the ADC. So don't you think, that's my advice. I just feel like, go home, go and arrange your house. And that's the reason why I brought up what I said the first time, just before I introduced you. I cannot make my food and blame my neighbor for making the food not to be tasty like I want it to be. So I feel like coming out and misleading the public, because right now everyone just feel like, oh, the INEC doesn't want ADC anymore, INEC doesn't want any opposition to APC. So I feel like there's an in-house crisis, and that should be sorted out before coming out to protest about anything. What do you think?
All right, here's the thing, Ogochukwu. You know, foundation is very important, whether for an individual, for a family, even for a political party and a government. So the question is, how did ADC get to where it is today? The story is very long, but let's see if we can condense it in a minute or two. Now, there had always been ADC. As a matter of fact, the ADC, which is the African Democratic Congress, did field the candidates 3 years ago at the presidential level. We're talking about the 2023 general election. We had Dumebi Kachuku, who was their flag bearer, who was the presidential candidate of the party. So for those who do not know, let's not assume that ADC just started last year. No, they have always been there. Yes, they may not have been loud, they may not have produced a governor, but they've always been there. And they came very strong in terms of campaign and all of the narratives in 2023. In fact, starting from 2022. However, things took a very radical and, if you like, some head-spinning turn last year when all of a sudden we heard that there was going to be a coalition all over the place. And it was a bit of an amorphous kind of thing because at that point in time, this coalition had not been affiliated with any political party. Up until that point, it was the PDP, the People's Democratic Party, that had been known as the leading opposition party. So when the coalition talks came up, the question was, what exactly does this coalition want to do? Merge multiple parties together? Float a new party that of course must be registered by INEC? Or adopt an existing party and use that as a special purpose vehicle? These were the three options. But fast forward to when all of these leaders, including of course people like David Mark, led by at that point in time former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, came together and they agreed that look, we are going to fly with an existing party. Again, the issue was, should it be the ADC or should it be the SDP, the Social Democratic Party? They eventually settled for the ADC. And then of course, David Mark became the national chairman. But the question is, for a party that up until that time had a chairman in the person of Nafiu Issa Gombe, what happened? Did Issa Gombe resign, or did he just leave the party somehow? How did this dramatic kind of turn take place? And then we were told that Issa Gombe had resigned in August of last year, in May of last year, I should say. But then we were told INEC was not aware, was not formally communicated until August, which was a 3-month period. Now, if, again, with capital letter if that was the case, why did it take 3 months for INEC to be aware? But meanwhile, David Mark had become the national chairman of the party. Former governor of Osun State, Rauf Aregbesola, had become the national secretary of the party. As a matter of fact, if you cycle back to a couple of videos very recently, up to a week or two ago, where INEC held meetings with political parties, you would see Rauf Aregbesola, the national secretary of ADC, attending those meetings on behalf of his party, the ADC. So what changed?
What changed?
INEC chairman says, because he granted an interview barely a week ago, an exclusive interview on national television, where he said that, look, a particular law firm had written the commission to say that, look, there is a court order that is, as it were, stated very clearly, that has ordered that the ADC must return to what is known in law as status quo ante bellum, which simply means that the political party must return to the way things were before conflict started. Because at this point of Ogochukwu, just so our viewers understand, Nafiu Issa Gombe had now said that he did not resign from the party. That the letter stating purportedly that he resigned was forged.
Yes, including his signature.
Yes, that was forged. So when you have a case like that, INEC argues, what do you do? A court order says return to status quo ante bellum. So the question now became, what is status quo ante bellum in this case? Is it as of when Issa Gombe was the active national chairman, or is it at the time when the Mark just took over? Because the argument by many people is that one party, one faction of the party must be recognized, either Gombe's faction or the Mark-led faction. But instead, INEC says we are not recognizing anyone. As a matter of fact, this case now is a matter of litigation. Therefore, we can't go further until there is another valid court order turning, or as it were, upturning the current state of things, which is an order of court. So that's where we are right now. So ADC led by Mark is saying that, look, it is our faction that is the legitimate, recognized, valid faction. INEC says we go nowhere until we hear from court.
Okay. All right. So lastly, the ADC is here to hold its convention. And of course, there is a deadline to this convention.
Right.
I think April 23rd or 29th this month.
The party says it's going ahead with the convention.
Okay, to still go ahead with the convention, even with the case being in court.
Just so we mention this again, the Dumebi Kachiku faction of the party, which, I mean, Dumebi was the presidential candidate of ADC in 2023, now says that it will go ahead with the national convention regardless of the legal states in which the party has found itself.
And do you think that's allowed?
At this point, it's not about whether it's allowed, it's valid.
Okay.
What does the law say? Whether the electoral acts, the constitution, or even INEC guidelines. So, again, that's why I said it's going to be a long night.
It's really going to be a long night. Thank you so much, Uyi, for your contribution.
Always.
It's going to be a long night. So, all of you, make sure that you are fixed your eyes on the TV. Definitely will bring you update of all of the stories. Okay. All right. This is where we close the curtains for Social Buzz here on Global Morning. I am Ogochukwu Mornin. And once again, good morning, Nigerians and viewers around the world. Bye for now.
When social media speaks, we listen and we bring you the extra. It's your one-stop shop for trends, tweets, and the tea everyone's sipping on. Join the conversation, share your thoughts, and get that extra dose of what's shaking the internet.
And on issues making wave on social media to your doorstep.
Social Buzz Extra, where the trend meets the talk, only on Global TV.
Wake up with Global Morning, your daily guide to what's happening and making the rounds.
We delve into headlines, newspaper reviews, spot-on analysis, policies, current events, real talk, real issues that affect us all.
From the latest trends to the debate, every topic, every angle, Global Morning is where it all starts.
Global Morning,
For the latest issues,
always on point.
watch Global Morning Monday to Friday at 7 a.m. Saturday and Sunday at 8 a.m. on Global Television. All right, you're welcome back. And if you're just tuning in, this is Global Morning on Global Television. And of course, that was Social Buzz with Ogochukwu Mornin and of course, Uyi breaking it down, talking about the protest that happened in the INEC headquarters, right, Uyi? Now, with all of this that has been happening, we've talked about floodings, we've talked about the protests that happened with the ADC and all of that. I'm hungry.
Oh, well, breakfast idea, right?
Breakfast idea, and that is why I think I want pancakes. So up next is taste and texture. Let's have pancakes for breakfast. What do you think?
Hello guys, this is to specially welcome you to this episode of Taste and Texture, and it promises to be as engaging as it will be eye-opening. On the show, we're going to prepare a tasty delicacy that is indigenous, and we will be preparing it from scratch. In today's episode of the program, we'll be preparing Nigerian pancakes, which is always a delicious and simple breakfast option. This one is a Nigerian pancake recipe that differs from the original pancake version. Here, plantain, scotch bonnet, and onions are added to the mixture. Also, this breakfast pancake can be made very quickly by anyone. In addition to the speed and ease of making it, it is also fun to make. Ingredients: flour, eggs, milk, sugar, salt, nutmeg, onions, scotch bonnet, and plantains. Step 1. Add your egg, milk, flour, nutmeg, salt, and plantain into a blender and blend till smooth. Pour the batter into a bowl. Add scotch bonnet and onions and mix. Step 2. Oil your pan till hot and add your butter. Cook your pancakes on medium to high heat. Flip your pancake after 2 minutes and allow to cook. Continue the process till your batter is all done. There you have it. Your Nigerian pancake is ready. You can pair it with pap, custard or tea for full satisfaction. Enjoy! That's it on today's episode of the program Taste and Texture. Hope you will try this recipe in your various homes and hope you enjoyed the program. Join me same time next week for another episode of the program. I am Saadatul Garba. Thank you for watching. See you on the next one.
All right, you're welcome back. Hope you enjoy that. That's all about the plantain pancakes. And of course, Uyi says, Mr. Agbomofuegbe will be giving that a try, right?
Violence, of course.
All right, we're going to talk more on politics.
Yeah, you know, just to mention the issue of breakfast.
Yes.
I've heard people say things like, I do not eat until 10 or 11. Some people say, I don't even eat until 1. So for them, their first meal of the day is the lunch that they have.
Yes, yes.
Some of them, of course, will pack lunch from the house. Others will have to eat out and things like that.
Yes.
You've got to do what works for you. And if you're not sure, there's no rule that says you can also see your physician, because at the end of the day, what does matter is your health. So the fact that it works for someone else is not a guarantee it may work for you.
Exactly.
I've also seen people who eat very heavy for breakfast, and we hear from health experts that that's not the best idea.
No, it's not.
It's supposed to be something light, but just be sure that you push something down there, all right, to keep you going, especially for people who have, usually busy mornings.
Yes, like us.
Yes, that way, you can always stay revitalized, and of course, you can't take away the place of water.
Yes.
You need to stay hydrated all day.
And tea.
And yeah, my part. I'm
you're
guilty as charged. So.
You're guilty as charged. You're a tea person. I am not. I think just the juice for me is fine, and I'm good. And I'm good. But at the same time, like you said, something vital. Do what works for you. You can actually stay. But for me, if you're not fasting or if you're not doing all of that, just try and nibble down something.
Right.
It can apply to adults. You can actually try as much as possible to avoid, and you might want to, but for kids, please ensure they eat something in the morning. It's very important. It keeps you energetic, keeps them energetic and very active, so it's very important.
Right. Well, moving away from that now, politics is becoming more dramatic than ever in our country, especially regarding these, opposition fights that we're seeing right now. The ADC, many people say, was becoming very promising regarding 2027 election. But hold on a second, is there no life beyond 2027? But politicians believe that. Look, let's deal with 2027. The other election cycles and indeed issues of governance will take care of themselves going forward. But as it stands today, it appears that the ADC is not leaving anything to chance, even with the legal tussle that it has to grapple with at this point in time. We're seeing the ADC reaching out to quite a number of Nigerians, including the governor of Oyo State, who was in Abuja yesterday to, in his own words, pay solidarity visit to the leadership of the party because of the tough times that it's going through at this point in time. We also saw Turaki there yesterday,
yes, we did.
Taminu Turaki, who is the factional leader of the PDP. Of course, as it stands right now, there is no faction in the PDP, really. No. And for many people, this gentleman, whether it's Governor Sheyi Makinde or Tanimu Turaki, SAN, and the other guys in that camp, they become more, if you like, more or less partyless. So it will appear the conversation going on behind closed doors now, Jumai, is to say, look, what are our options? Do we want to go to the APC? They probably say no. That will even make it one party state faster. I'm just trying to assume what they are saying or thinking or discussing right now. They say, okay, so what are the options? Say, okay, well, can we not look at the ADC? Because obviously they are becoming more formidable by the day. Yeah. So what is likely going to be the outcome if we were to join forces with them? All right. So if you see guys like Sheyi Makinde, Turaki in a meeting of that, populated by such caliber of men, they are not there to joke, they're playing, all right? Right, so you know that these guys are focused, they have their eye on the ball, which is 2027.
Exactly.
But in all of this, the question is, what exactly will be the conversation? What are they going to be selling or pitching to Nigerians? Because before now, you will hear things like, we'll give you light, we'll give you road, we'll give you power, we'll fight corruption, we'll fight insecurity and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. But in this instant case, you're wondering, what will the APC be telling Nigerians? Yesterday, we had a gentleman here, Dr. Oke, who was busy talking to us about what, in his own assessment, his party, the APC, under the leadership of President Bola Tinubu, has accomplished. The opposition will have to also do their own kind of selling or marketing. So the question is, what will the opposition be bringing at that point in time? Because there's also the conversation that, look, those of you in the opposition today, at the point you were in the PDP, when PDP was in power for 16 years. Some of you were even leaders of the APC, the same APC under former President, late Muhammadu Buhari. All right, so what exactly are you going to do differently? Because it's not so much about the political party, which someone like Professor Ibrahim Abubakar will say, look, do not exist in Nigeria, because he says he believes there are no political parties in Nigeria. There are only political platforms. So we're saying this to say that these politicians, regardless of their political or, if you like, partisan affiliation, must be able to convince Nigerians to give them their votes in 2027.
Very importantly, and like you said, what are they bringing differently? That's the kicker there. What are they going to bring differently to Nigerians that we've not seen before or we've not heard before? So it's very important that we understand. Defections will happen, yes, and these individuals who have defected to these various parties, they've been in one other ruling party or the other when they were in power. So a lot of things have, and it's not all about heavyweights coming together. I just say it's not about big names or big whips coming together, sit on the table and trying to strategize. It's all about planning and being strategic. It's not about the names in which they carry, but what they bring, the weight in which they bring. But at the same time, let's just hope and see what this brings. Everyone, well, we might say we are all anxious in waiting, but at the same time, with the economy and all of that, everyone needs that change, and we do hope that this change will come as soon as possible. For me, like I said, I do not care who becomes the president. I don't care who wants to rule for. I don't. As long as it is beneficial to Nigerians and Nigeria, I am good to go. It doesn't matter what state you're from, what religion you're from. That has nothing to do. And I'm sure most Nigerians are like that. As long as it's favorable to you and I, and we're moving past and moving forward. I think that's the go-to area for most individuals now. No one cares about the issues you have, except individuals who do not have, in the pidgin powers, that do not have work, and think about how to take sides and cause commotions and cause problems here and there. But I think once people come together, and you said something vital about the FCT minister, it keeps ringing a bell. Like, yes, he is a card-carrying member of the People Democratic Party. Yes, he's there, and of course, he is the national leader of that particular party. And yet, he's been appointed as the FCT minister by the people at the APC. It shows that you can actually work with you can actually work with the ruling party even when you are in opposition. Because at the back of your mind, it's not about you. It's not all about the party. It's all about Nigeria and Nigerians and what you bring and how to make one's life better. That's the thing. You might come up and tell us a lot of numbers, Uyi. I keep saying it. These numbers people are saying, 3 million, 3 point something trillion, all of that. Most Nigerians don't even understand it. It doesn't even make sense to them. It only makes sense when I go to the market and I see things are now fair. I can go to the market with 50,000 and I see my worth and I see the worth of the things that I bought. Then the person understands that there is change. But when you keep telling me about numbers, figures, and people, we have this in the reservoir, we have this, the person's like, are you kidding me? And really, Barrister Idi that was here, he said something. He says, the vote that counts are it's from the grassroots, because that's where your vote will really count. That is where they are in numbers, and that makes a lot of sense. And if those individuals in the grassroots do not understand this 3.3 trillion, whatever you say, when it comes to all of these, I'm just taking it on the lighter note now. Statistics, of course, we know what the statistics are, and of course the change in which it brings. But for that man down there in the village of Obehira, who doesn't do that's hi.
We see you.
You see me, that man in Obehira, that man in that village somewhere in Zuru, that man that you have, you have to bring in this change for us to understand that it's not all about the heavyweights that are coming together, but what you bring and the strategy in which you're bringing, because everyone is up on deck, all hands are on deck. So we just hope it's for the benefit of Nigerians and Nigeria to make that difference. It's key and very important.
You see, I think politicians will always be politicians, right? For them, they are focused on how to win for themselves individually and for their respective political parties, all right? But then, nobody's asking who is providing good governance, whether at the federal or state level, which again brings us to the issue of how is it that we pay so much attention to the center without trying to narrow down the conversation to the states, the subnationals, and then of course the local governments. In recent times, Jomai, in the last couple of months, in fact since last year in particular, we now see local governments, in fact states getting so much more. Some states getting around twice what they used to get by way of federal allocation, monthly allocation that is. We see local governments now getting several hundreds of millions. Some local governments that used to get less than 100 million, they're now getting, in some cases, even in my state of Edo, up to, I hear, 500 million. I mean, that is an all-time high, as they say. We don't hear this local government chairman mention this increase, this exponential bump. We don't hear these governors talk about how they're not having more money. It was only yesterday we saw a gentleman here on our program say that he's governor in Delta State, talking about His Excellency Sheriff Oborevori. Saying to him, that look, the state has money, but we have to do projects, we have to make impact, we have to deliver the goods to the people. You see, is the reason governors have for the most part become like emperors. Because governors, as crazy as this sounds, the average governor in Nigeria since 1999 to today, the 9th of April 2026, sees the money in his state's coffers as his personal money. They will not admit that. They will not say that in public, but in their heads, in their thinking, they see the state funds as their personal money. And that's why, if they fix a road, they want you to come thank them. If they build a school or renovate one, maybe with the roof and maybe sink a borehole inside, they want you to come do libation in honor of them. Because the governors feel we are the ones calling the shots. We're making this happen. And that's why after 8 whole years, Jumai, nobody has been able to explain to us the reason a governor still wants to be in charge of a state that he has led for that long. What is the excuse? He says, well, my structure. If it sounds like carpentry, when you say my structure, like you built something out of wood, like a kiosk.
Some of your own sweat.
Yes, or some sort of cubicle or something, my structure, my political structure. But somebody has got to lead these states after you, because somebody led the states before you.
But wait, sorry to interject. When you said someone led the state after you and someone will lead before you, did they lead by example? That's food for thought. If your predecessor did not live by example, believe me, you will not live by example.
Garbage in, garbage out.
Of course, that's what it is. Garbage in, garbage out. If your predecessor led by example and made everyone understand that, come, this money is in the it's not mine. It's for the state, and we must make good use of it. The needful has to be done when it comes to roads. The needful has to be done when it comes to healthcare, primary healthcare in our own constituency. When it comes to education, when it comes to entrepreneurship programs on how to better the lives of individuals in that particular state. And once your tenure is over, you do the necessary when it comes to handing and taking over. This is what is left. That's the thing. This is what is left, this is what is left, this is what is left. I'm done. You wash your hands and you move. Once you do the needful, leadership by example, it goes a long way. It's not all about saying it. Leadership by example, if you look at it it's deep, because it shows, it's like a mirror, it's like your reflection. I have done this and you have seen it. You have seen my way. I don't have to say my structure. It is like what Dr. Oke said yesterday. When you are working, it is not hidden. We see it. And all of these things has to be put into consideration. Very importantly. And the truth is, I think we have a lot when it comes to terms of reference. I don't think we understand it. We do not understand terms of reference. We do not know what you are supposed to do and what is close by to you, where your limit, where it stops and where it begins. Sometimes, like you said, when you build roads or when the roads or infrastructure, you feel in your mind that you have done me a favor. No, that is your obligation. That is what you're supposed to do. There shouldn't be any lacuna once you are in that particular appointment. There shouldn't be. You should close all the lapses so we'll know why. And then when you come back for a re-election, then I will have the worth of voting you back into power. But you've not done anything, and yet it's at the dying minute. And we're very good with that. You know, Nigerians, we're very empathetic and very simple. We forgive so easily. It's at the dying minute. After 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 3 years, almost to the 4th year, then we start trying to put things into place. It doesn't work that way. But I think we have a lot to do by leadership by example is very important. And I don't think we have that. I think we have to go back to the drawing board and understand it, know what it means, know the weight it carries, so that it can be processed. Very important.
You know, INEC has raised two concerns. In fact, when I say INEC, I'm talking specifically about the chairman of the commission, Professor George Omobuto. Two issues. One is the issue of electoral violence. The second was apathy. We have seen a lot of violence, Jumai, whether it is off-grid elections, like you're having in Kogi, in Imo, in Bayelsa. We're going to have two this year. The first is going to be in Osun, the next is in Ekiti. These are off-cycle governorship elections. Where was your violence? General election, we have violence. The question has been, who gets prosecuted when such acts of mayhem or violence occur? And then the second issue you also raised was that of apathy. Why is it that we've seen since 1999 some sort of steady decline, right? In terms of people who come out to vote. You have this number of people who have registered to vote, picked their PVCs to vote, then you have this number of people who have come to vote. So why is it that you have a gulf, like a huge divide or gap between those who have been registered to vote with PVCs in their hands and those who ultimately will come out, show up on that day to cast their ballots? Is it possible that we're not patriotic enough? Is it possible that voting in Nigeria is not incentivized strategically and effectively? Is it possible that Nigerians do not believe in the process? Because that's one thing. People will not give their energy and time to something they feel disconnected from. They do not believe in it. People will go the whole hog, the full length, all right, go to any extreme for what they believe in, what they are convinced about. But in the case of Nigeria, for example, how many persons genuinely, sincerely want to come out to cast their votes? That's why you see there's so much of drop. They'll tell you in these states, 1.9 million people have registered to vote, and they all have PVCs, or at least 80-90% of them have PVCs. But on the day of election proper, you see between 3 and 450 coming out to vote, which is just about a quarter, like 20-25% of the people coming out to vote. So if that's the case, what is INEC's role in ensuring that unless we and Jumai are on essential duty on election day, they will come out to vote, unless they are not in the country? All right, we have to ask ourselves that. Who is also asking, for example, what more do we do to ensure that if people do not come out to vote, we know we have done our part? Is INEC reaching out? Is INEC in touch with the National Orientation Agency? Is INEC strategic in its relations or relationship with the media, whether you're talking about broadcast, you're talking about print, and what have you? Is INEC maximizing that? It's not enough to call a press conference. It's more than calling a press conference. Press conference is one-off, and it can only do so much. But for the long term, what is INEC's relationship like with the Nigerian media? This is not to say do dirty work, do sort of image laundering or damage control for INEC. No. In terms of what are the programs of INEC, what does INEC specifically intend to do in Osun and Ekiti in these coming polls? How can the media jump in on it for the love of country? We've got to do that. The National Orientation Agency is a very crucial agency of the federal government.
Yes, it is.
That's supposed to enlighten citizens on issues of civic responsibility, their civic duty. Is INEC in a handshake, for want of better words, with the NOA? The NOA has been very quiet for a long time. What is also their challenge? Is it funding problem? Is it weak leadership? Is it like there's something the NOA is doing we are not aware of in 2026? Juma, I doubt.
Well, it takes more to come out and have that notion of transparency, accountability, credibility. It takes much more. You have to earn it. And like you said, what is INEC doing when it comes to that media engagement, media awareness? Because, media, it's a very powerful tool, especially when it comes to television or print. Even traditional medium also goes a long way. And what is INEC doing? It's a big question mark. And it's not all about coming out giving press releases like you mentioned. A lot needs to be done in that forte. And I think INEC as a body needs to understand that. Because for everyone, you know the notion and the belief behind the INEC chairman, Professor Josh Amupiton, that he's the president's boy and all of that. And that is why he's been called out. If you look at that protest that happened yesterday, they said he wants to turn, he's part of the individuals who are connected in turning Nigeria into a one-party state. But at the same time, proving yourself is very important, and proving your worth is very important. I always say to people, integrity is key. There's a lot you can do. Play your part, and you don't have to come out and defend yourself. Your works will defend for you. So if you're going all out there, pulling all the weight when it comes to creating that awareness, why it's important to come out and vote, why your vote will count. You said something at the beginning. He mentioned about voters' apathy. Nigerians are tired. I keep saying it because I talk to people and they say a lot, and they say, Jumai, I am telling you, Nigerians are really tired. We come out and we say, hey, we hear someone that has said something that is lifting, but close to the day of election, you just feel as if it's a waste of time. Like it's just the same old. It's the same pattern that we see. And then once bad news travel faster than good news. Once one person says, after all, even if you vote A into power compared to, if you vote B into power compared to A, it's the same thing that they will do. And then that discouragement comes in. Right there, a lot of weight needs to be put in here for people to understand that, hey, listen, for as much as the elections are upcoming, do your part. Just do your part. Vote. And let's see what it brings, because really your vote makes a difference. An individual's vote makes a difference. But we need to have that belief before we can cast our votes. And it's not cast in concrete, like you said. A lot of individuals are tired. A lot of people just say, okay, let them do what they want. After all, we all know what will happen at the end of the day. But at the same time, I think we should have a different mindset when it comes to electoral processes. And then it doesn't just start with the Nigerian or the individual. It starts with the electoral body. I always say INEC has a very big role to play. That is their core responsibility. It's very important, but it is what it is. And let's just see what this brings. I hope it gets to the ears of the INEC chairman for him to put in more effort. It's not all about press conferences, coming out with nice clean shave and all of that. No. It's beyond that. Of course I did. But it's beyond that. It's beyond going out and let your words carry weight. It's very important that your words carry weight. Just do the needful. And I always say do the needful with the fear of God. And most of they say these politicians, they don't fear God, but prove a point. Do the needful, just do the right thing. So your conscience can be clear. But you have a role to play when it comes to, creating that awareness, using the media as a tool to also pass that message and do the needful to encourage someone so that it will reduce or douse when it comes to apathy, when it comes to electoral process. Very important.
Right. Juma has put this very concisely.
And lightly.
Right. Well, we're taking a break now, everyone. We'll return so much to talk about our dear nation and the events unfolding right before our eyes. Wake up with Global Morning, your daily guide to what's happening and making the rounds.
We delve into headlines, newspaper reviews, spot-on analysis, policies, current events, real talk, real issues that affect us all.
From the latest trends to the debate, every topic, every angle, Global Morning is where it all starts.
Global Morning,
For the latest issues,
always on point.
watch Global Morning Monday to Friday at 7 a.m. Saturday and Sunday at 8 a.m. on Global Television.
Our language, our vibrant culture and colorful tradition, our industrious and hospitable people. This is Nigeria, a nation that prides itself in abundant human and natural resources. From east to west, north to south, we sparkle, we shine, we have a common bond. Fellow Nigerians, let's do away with ethnic, religious and regional sentiments that divide us as a people. God has blessed us and empowered us to find strength in diversity. Let's make our faith and way of worship our source of unity as we build our nation that stays united. Nigeria, together today, together always. This is a public announcement brought to you by Global Television.
I appreciate you staying with us, everyone, here on Global Morning. Away from politics for a second, let's talk about the role of civil society organizations in our country. Just this week, we're seeing, for example, civil society organizations, including IAGA Africa, which is doing so much of work within the civic space as it brought down issues around elections, credible, free, fair, and transparent elections, telling the federal government, led by the APC, that look, Nigeria is not in a good place. If anything, the country is very, very far away from it. Of course, as always, the presidency has replied to say that, look, there's nothing wrong with Nigeria the way it is. We may be challenged, but we are good and we'll continue to improve and make progress. But for these civil society organizations, what are they actually looking at? For many of them, they say they are concerned about how that, for example, right from day one in the life of the presidency of President Bola Tinubu, the payments of fuel subsidy were suspended, and as such, the hike in the price, the pump price of petrol, that is, got shot up right through the roof, and as such, the prices of essential commodities have also skyrocketed. But the president on his part has time and again insisted that, look, we may be having a tough time, but ultimately it will be in the overall interest of the country. Yesterday, our guest on the program said that Nigeria, by the time President Tinubu took office, was like a patient undergoing surgery.
Yes.
And the procedure is gruesome, it's painful, all right? It humbles you. Sometimes it even, if you like, it's just overwhelms you, right? Mm-hmm. But when it's all said and done, what happens? The patient gets back up, they're stronger, they don't have to deal with that pain because the pain point has been addressed and things like that. I've heard that again from quite a number of APC leaders. But civil society organizations are not buying that. They have issues with our electoral process, especially the way INEC is being seen today by not just politicians on the opposition front, but by Nigerians generally. They have said that, look, we have to deal with that so Nigeria does not become a one-party state, so that Nigeria does not become a place where the opposition by default would have to carry the day. So it doesn't look like the INEC is a branch or an arm of the ruling party. That's one thing. The second thing that I've also raised is to say that, look, issues of insecurity are becoming more concerning by the day. It may not be as bad in some parts of the country as it is in others, but it is bad already for Nigeria as a country and for Nigerians as a people. Therefore, if government cannot address economic issues, government cannot tackle insecurity, what then is that government doing for the people that it can boast of? And that's why, Juma, many persons believe, not just argue, that going into 2027, President Bola Tinubu and indeed the APC, we have so much of a nut, so to speak, to crack when it comes to explaining to Nigeria how insecurity had gotten worsened in recent times, almost as if we're doing next to nothing to address the challenge.
Well, yesterday, Brother Okay will beg to differ when he says, looking at Abuja-Kaduna Road, the kidnappings and it has been happening. That when
he was more concerned about the southern roads.
Yes, the southern roads.
Yes.
like I mentioned, and I said to him, it's not just, Delta State is not Nigeria. So he was like, well, he's governor, this is what he's doing, putting in place.
So he can basically speak for his state.
Speak for his state, and he's trying to live by example at the same time. But you see, that's a question that our dear president and individuals that will have to answer. Why insecurity have gotten to this point in Nigeria that there's no breathing space. Look at what is happening in Rukubai, in Jos. Youths have lost their lives. It's just unfortunate that it's getting worse by the day. Kidnappings, all of these terrorism, and you cannot sleep with your two eyes shut anymore. You have to try as much as possible, especially insecurity has really given, there is a big lacuna when it comes to trying to solve and curb this. But unfortunately, we hear that, the security agencies are trying their best, they're doing their best, but it seems as if it's not getting that result that we want at the same time. But it's not like they're not working, they are. They've come up with so many strategies in how to nip this in the bud, but yet it still keeps raising its ugly head. And I think that if we can find a solution to security, I think we're not far away from getting that white flag of peace. Like seriously, we have a lot to do when it comes to that particular issue of insecurity. It's a major problem. It has destroyed homes. It has, breadwinners, a lot have gone down due to this, and I think a lot needs to be done there, and we need questions, really. We need answers
to these
questions, and we need it as soon as possible, because Nigerians are tired, they're exhausted, and it's very fearful. Individuals in this particular state are living in fear. You cannot come out. You just cannot be yourself. You cannot go to the next. You can't even go to your farmland. Source of livelihood and all of that. It's just unfortunate, but this is what it is. But we hope sincerely that the security agencies are doing the best that they can, and hopefully that this particular nightmare will go away as soon as possible.
We do hope it will go away, because whether you like it or not, we have one of the best, most gallant militaries in the world.
Yes, we do.
Nigeria cannot be proud of that enough. We have one of the best police forces in the world. Again, something we are so proud of. And that is the irony of it, Juma, how that with all of these human resources, we are still falling behind in terms of our fight. Many analysts will say that, look, one of the fundamental problems is that the fight against insecurity has long ago been politicized. Politicians see it purely from a place of politics, whereas the armed forces, the police, see it from a place of combat. They see it from a place of a fight they are guaranteed to win. But what do you do when politics has come in between? That's where we are right now. It's the reason you hear people say things like, if, like I mentioned yesterday, someone like Obasanjo, former president, was the presidency, to be a different conversation. If he was the military, to be a different conversation. But the point is, do we not still have the same military? We have the military, the armed forces. We still have the same police. The question now is, how many persons are being used as a scapegoat of some kind in the eye of the law? Whether they are those who, if you like, directly undertake these criminal acts, or they are those who are cheering them on, or those who are putting resources into it. Yes, we hear now that at least 5 of these terrorists have been convicted and jailed.
Yes.
About 500 more are being tried. Yes, it is good. But the question is, are we not only being reactive at the same time? In a country where we're still discussing, should we negotiate with them? Should we not negotiate with them? Who should negotiate with them? The federal government is saying one thing. Individual states are saying a different thing. And the military is trapped in between. What do we do?
Exactly.
I've heard from people off camera that, look, I mean, those in the military space, that the military does not believe that terrorists should be negotiated with. They believe that the law should take its course. And the military, they understand their remits back to back, so they know exactly what should be done under the circumstances. But what do they do when government is foot dragging, when government has shown very clearly that it's treating these issues with kid gloves? But what we must know is that the Nigerian Constitution, 1999, as amended, is very clear that government is in place, this is a paraphrase, to, first of all, ensure the security of lives and property of citizens. If government can't do that, then there's a real problem. And again, that raises concern, given that there's a belief that the APC government, and indeed President Bola Tinubu, are now distracted because of politicking, because they have to strategize continuously until they are guaranteed or even eventually win election in 2027. But the question is, can they do both side by side, politicking and claiming to be fighting insecurity? My people say you can't whistle through your nostrils and your mouth at the same time. You've got to choose one.
You're right, you have to choose one. I think choosing is very detrimental, because you have to, it's a win-win. I don't know.
That sounds like you're trying to whistle from your nostrils.
But no, you know how it is. Politics, they say it's a very dirty game. You have to get your hands soiled in one way or the other. And you have to please. You cannot please just one party. You have to try much possible to please both parts. But I think the needful needs to be done, and we know what the needful is. You have to tilt towards the people whom you represent. That is why you have, and at the same time, for as much as we speak so much about insecurity in the country, the president has shown that he's really concerned when it comes to this issue. He's really concerned how he goes all out to sympathize with the families, how he goes, like Dr. K said something, and he said that the video that went viral about the woman that held her son and was saying that her son is still alive, that he called out the woman's name, called out the name of her son who passed. It shows that he's, empathy is there at the same time, but for as much as it's empathetic, it's much more than that, and individuals know that it's much more than that. And about where this terrorists invaded, I hear there's a military barracks just close by. So how? What
a irony! Quite a strong irony.
Why the strong? Exactly. What's an irony that with the attack that happened, the military, didn't they hear
so much proximity?
Exactly. Didn't they hear the sound of guns? Didn't they hear people shouting, screaming, running, and all of that? You see, these are questions that we need answers to, and it's just unfortunately that this is where we are in Nigeria. But a lot needs to be done. I think the needful and the right thing needs to be done. Insecurity has stayed 16, 17 years is a long time. That's like a teenage child who has grown, who is wants going to the close to entering the university or adult secondary school. So that it's a big deal. Like that, I think that's one of the major problems we're having in Nigeria: insecurity. For as much as I know, we have issues of unemployment, we have issues of inflation, we have issues of transportation, education, but you see, once you solve the problem of insecurity first, I think that's a greater step in solving all of the issues that we're having, because this has to do with lives. It doesn't have respect for age. It has to do with lives. It has to do with your source of livelihood. For men that, one of my guests said, don't say men have ego, but we all know. So this is a lighter context. For a man who is stripped off of his source of livelihood, he cannot provide for, if he's married, cannot provide for his wife, he cannot provide for his children. Everything is stripped off. What do you think that could lead to? Mental breakdown, really. So that's what insecurity does. It strips one of every single thing. And then the trauma of living with the death of loved ones and friends all around, it takes a toll on an individual.
Right.
So I think once we solve this problem of insecurity, it will go a long way in solving every other problem in which we have in Nigeria. That's just me saying.
You know, it's interesting how that by some data, based on some reports, at least 91,000 deaths were recorded between 2011 and 2024. That was basically some 14-year period, and over 14,000 incidents in terms of attacks. Over 14,000.
I remember there are some that are unaccounted for.
Of course, quite a number of them underreported, some of them unreported altogether.
Exactly.
You know, so when you look at all of this, I mean, just imagine if you were to move 91,000 plus people into a location. Imagine that is already a huge community of people already.
Yes,
They tell you all of those people have been wiped away, their livelihoods gone. In some cases, you have 3 generations wiped.
Oh God.
Grandparents, children, grandchildren altogether. Because there are instances where you hear things like the man's mom was in the house with his wife and his children. They set the whole house ablaze. Nobody came out alive. Everybody burned beyond recognition. That's 3 generations we wiped out, all right? And we have countless number of such incidences. So when you have that kind of picture, you're no longer dealing with just criminality. You're now dealing with an existential problem. And that's why it was laughable, it was annoying, it was embarrassing, it was disgusting, it was inhuman and inhumane. When in this country a few years ago, we were debating, should we call them bandits? Should we call them insurgents? Should we call them criminals? I mean, come on. Does the scale of the carnage not speak for itself?
Really?
So I'm saying this is not just to paint a gloomy picture, it's to say that while we are busy politicking, we're discussing whether Jumai wants to come to his party or he wants to collapse his structures and join Jumai, we must know that we're talking about real human beings with real problems.
Exactly.
The same people you are, if you like, pitching to now to come vote for you on election day proper are the same people who have been impacted adversely by the level of insecurity we have seen in this country. So how do you explain to them? What are you promising them? That, well, let's just continue conducting elections and talking about politics. It doesn't matter, after all, people will die. There's nothing to do about it.
I'm glad you get it. You know, that was what I was saying at the beginning, that individuals who are mostly affected by these are the ones that are, it's draining. When you go to the grassroots, individuals who are really affected by insecurity, their means of livelihood have been snatched and taken away from them. Some have lost their family members, husbands, wives, children, parents. And then what other hope can you bring? These are individuals that have lost hope completely, and it takes God and grace for these individuals to have this particular hope and believe that, okay, there is something to look up to, there is something to believe in, there is something. They don't have that, they don't see that. So it's going to take a lot of work. And like I said, it's not all about you trying to run down or tear down this present administration. Do yours.
Let's see what you have.
Let's see what you have. It's not, I've never supported when big wigs, individuals who you look up to, who are well-profiled individuals, and you say you want to scheme, our motive is to come and impeach. Or no, do yours, do something different. This is what we've been saying back to back, how other political parties want to run down, bring this party down. No, just do something different. See how you can raise the bar. Raise the numbers. What's individuals who are in the IDP? Now let's debate a bit. Have you gone to the internal displaced, all these IDP camps? Have you seen it? I know I'm part of the media, but we only portray what we want you to see, or these individuals want us to portray and see when you are giving out palliatives to the beautiful aspect of the IDP. Have you gone to, I just don't want to mention any name because I just don't want to start off something now. But just take out time and visit the IDPs. You will puke. I'm telling you, you will definitely puke. I have gone there. I went there with one of our colleagues when he was in Nigeria, Edikan. I was just crying all through, and I was just puking at the same time because it was nothing to write home about. Like, have you gone there? Have you seen the way these individuals live? Like, I don't want to, if I say, I don't want to mention, I just don't want to say anything, but the truth is, it's very uncalled for. And these are individuals who have left their source of livelihood, who are doing very well for themselves, by the way, who had an amazing life. They go to their farmlands, they can provide for their families, they were all good, and then insecurity comes in. And of course, no one would say it's the governor. You would blame this present administration. You will say, of course, the president, and of course, you know, the president gives orders to do your bit, but do these governors, local government, do they do their bit? Individuals who are figureheads holding on these positions, do they do their bits? Question mark at the same time. So it takes a lot. It's going to take a lot of convincing. It's going to take a lot. But the truth is, for individuals, political parties who are out there, do yours. Let's see what you have. It's not all about getting all these heavyweights coming in, joining your party. Let's try and run the APC down. Mind you, I don't work for the APC. I do not. But at the same time, I'm a Nigerian. I just want the right and needful thing to be done. So it's not all about you trying to tear that party down. Do yours. Let's see what you have. Bring it to the table. And like Dr. Oke says, no one is perfect. You can't get it right 100%. But if you see some aspects in which this administration is doing rightly, you should commend. It's not everything in this government that is bad. I always tell people, just be on the fence though. It's not everything that is bad. If you sit back, you look at it, most sectors might not be working, but at the same time, there's some things you can pinpoint and say, okay, like food. At that point, of course, we know that food dropped drastically, which is true, I would say. But at the same time, there's a lot. It shouldn't be very minimal achievement and a maximum point of things that you need to do to make it better for the individuals in our society. So I think there should be a balance of both. So the good, let me just put it in a lighter mode, your achievement should not be very small, and then what you're doing that people are complaining about, and when it comes to inflation and all of that, is this wide. So try as much as possible to just create a balance. And then let's see what that brings.
You know, incidentally, this issue of internally displaced persons camps, the IDP camps you mentioned, actually a fallout of this insurgency and the criminality, especially in the northern part of the country. Look at how IDPs are dispersed across the country today. In fact, there's one in my home state of Edo. You know, and none of them come from the north. I mean, all of them. Because at the point, it was a challenge. I mean, there was a spillover. I remember the man who runs that place, Pastor Folonsho, I'm saying this for the records because these are public, pieces of information, had a sort of face-off with the former governor, Adams Oshomole, at the point in time, all right, over whether the IDP should be or not be and things like that. But eventually, it came to stay. And every now and then, you would find people bring stuff there, essentials for them, come to support them. We even understood a few years ago some of them had graduated from university through that internally displaced persons camp and stuff. But the question is that model sustainable? Do you run a society? Do you run a community? Do you run a country on the basis of IDP? Is it a model that works? No, it's just a matter of sheer necessity. It's a question of, they call it the devil's alternative. If you had a better option, you won't be there. That's why those guys are there. They didn't offend anyone. They didn't commit any crime. Their only offense is that they were raided. They were plundered. They were raped. They were robbed.
Not to be killed.
Right, because some of them they are just the only family now. Parents gone, siblings gone. In some cases, extended family members gone. So they do not even have things like parents, siblings, and in some cases, uncles and aunties, because the criminals come to an entire community, burn down all the houses, take out everybody, and the next thing you know is one or two persons survive and they run in different directions, and here we are. But let's just put this in perspective. So by some data, we understand between May and April, between May 2023 and April 2024, no less than 2.2 million, all right, instances of kidnapping took place. Now, these are data that are out there, and over 2.3 million.
That's a lot.
Yes, over 2.23 trillion paid in ransom. My point is to talk about ransom. You see, once you commercialize and venture, otherwise, you will realize that it will boom naturally. It will boom. Why is it hard for us as a country to fight off illicit drugs? Because it's highly commercialized. Because there's ready market for it. Because people have built empires from it. Hard to deal with, right? Regarding this issue of illicit drugs, because they know that it's a matter of time, it will all come crumbling. But as it stands today, just think the NDLEA has won the war against illicit drugs on behalf of Nigerians. The next thing you know is they are uncovering new techniques, new methods, new strategies that these drug barons have adopted.
And not standing down.
Exactly. So what do? You're not playing catch up rather than being a step or two ahead of them. So when it comes to insecurity, it's the same thing. One time, many years ago, it was thought that if somebody got kidnapped, they'll tell you they took the money somewhere, they gave the money to somebody in a bush or in an abandoned mechanic workshop, and then the victim got released. But these days, they probably don't do that much. We hear they do transfers, they use all sort of sophisticated means, they use even cryptocurrency and so on and so forth. I remember a couple of years ago, between say 2009 and maybe 2012, for example, the police will come and argue and tell you no ransom was paid, we got there, we took out we eliminated the kidnappers and we rescued the victim unhurt. No ransom was paid. But today, even the police are tired of denying that ransom was paid, because the police now know that ransoms are paid.
Yes.
So it will just be foolhardy for the police to now come out and say ransoms were not paid, because they know ransoms are paid. It's not a matter of life and death. It has gone beyond the optics and the politics and the image. It's now I know, for example, of a guy who was abducted in my city back in the day. The police, when the man eventually, elderly man, right? When he eventually got released, the police said no ransom was paid. The family said no, we paid ransom. However, our joy is our father is out
and
in
alive.
one piece. Exactly. So we are not here to debate. We paid ransom. We have seen cases where they even mentioned how much they paid. We have seen cases where one person has been kidnapped twice or thrice. The videos are all over the place. Some of these persons have come to the media to share their first-hand experiences. So when you look at all of this, you now ask yourself, are we winning that war? And if we are not, given where we are today, what are politicians, whether in the APC or any of the opposition blocs, going to be telling Nigerians going into 2027?
Exactly. Like I said, they have to be very strategic.
Right.
It has to be something that will wow us, that we've never heard before. And it's not all about talking about it. Action needs to be done. It's not about you saying that the president he's supposed to be here sympathizing with individuals and he's abroad. No, it's not about that. That's not what we want to hear. We want to hear something different that we've never heard before. How to nip this particular issue that is a monster in the bud is very important. How to move forward as a country. When we talk about development, infrastructure, when we talk about innovations, when we talk about competing with other countries, you understand, standing on our own. That's what we want to hear, not tearing down another political party in order to give us a good face of yours. It doesn't work that way. A lot needs to be done, and they have to be very strategic, like I said, and you have to bring something new that we've never heard before in Nigeria, something that can transform and change lives for the better. I think that's what most Nigerians are really looking at, and how our means of livelihood can be better. First of all, like I said, once you solve the problem of insecurity, every other problem is nipped in the bud. It's not, but insecurity is the major factor that we're facing that is really causing serious detriment in our society. Once you solve that and you close that gap completely, every other thing falls into place. I'm telling you, and that is what it is. But at the same time, we need these political parties like the ADC. It's not. You have a lot to do when it comes to convincing, really have a lot. I do know that most Nigerians have already made up their mind who's going to come on board when it comes to 2027. Everyone already knows. I don't want to say, but it's glaring. Everyone has already said. It's just speculations here and there that you hear, but really, because we know that that's how it is. There's a song that says, "This is how we roll." That's how it is.
Someone said that we should not be in a hurry to reach a conclusion on the outcome of the election, especially the presidential election, because he said, "Look, we still have quite a number of months," and then he said 24 hours can bring about so much of change
yes, it can.
in politics. Well, let's keep our fingers crossed. We'll take a break again, everyone, at this point. We'll return. The rest of Global Morning will come your way. Please do stay with us. Up with Global Morning, your daily guide to what's happening and making the rounds.
We delve into headlines, newspaper reviews, spot-on analysis, policies, current events, real talk, real issues that affect us all.
From the latest trends to the debate, every topic, every angle, Global Morning is where it all starts.
Global Morning,
for the latest issues,
always on point.
Watch Global Morning Monday to Friday at 7 a.m., Saturday and Sunday at 8 a.m. on Global Television.
In an age of breaking news, you need a trusted source that prioritizes accurate, factual, and unbiased reporting. This is AM News, and I am Ubong Usoro.
On Global Television, our news is rooted in verified and authoritative storytelling that keeps you educated, informed, and enlightened on all the issues that matter to you. I am Sadia Yakubu. This is Midday News.
You can trust our multi-platform news broadcast real-time and fast-check stories for all the big local and foreign headlines round the clock. I am Ramsey Enoch Agbo. This is News Express.
Our array of anchors delivers the news to our teeming viewers, breaking it down with context and perspective. This is News Cycle on Global Television. I am Anieti Patrick.
And the flagship news is your hub for the day's most engaging stories. This is News Prime, and I am Jumai Manson.
Did you miss any of our news rounds? No worries. Catch up at 10 p.m. and midnight, 7 days of the week. I am Mukhtar Kasim.
Global TV is on DSTV channel 365 and Star Times channel 276. We're active across all social media platforms at Global TV NG.
Global TV News, accurate and unbiased. I'm Uyi Agmofwebe. Wake up with Global Morning, your daily guide to what's happening and making the rounds.
We delve into headlines, newspaper reviews, spot-on analysis, policies, current events, real talk, real issues that affect us all.
From the latest trends to the debate, every topic, every angle, Global Morning is where it all starts.
Global Morning,
for the latest issues,
always on point.
Watch Global Morning Monday to Friday at 7 a.m., Saturday and Sunday at 8 a.m. on Global Television.
Just like we were saying a while ago about the state of insecurity in our dear nation, the United States Embassy is now advising the evacuation of non-essential staff. Now, the U.S. authorities are doing this on the basis of some 23 states now said to be higher risk. This morning, the news is reporting all of those states, basically. And the embassy is saying that this is very important because there could be, these states have become largely volatile. You see, we know the U.S. has been very controversial at some point with regards to how they assess security situation. If you remember, Juma, a few years ago, I think that was sometime in 2022.
Okay.
Yeah, about 4 years ago. Yes, there was this advisory from the U.S. Embassy saying that there was going to be some bomb scare in Abuja, and people didn't go out, people didn't go to work, people didn't go to school. In fact, people stayed indoors all day. In fact, the days leading to the day of that prediction, we saw Americans leaving Nigeria in their numbers, but on that day, not even a firework went up. So we've seen all of that. However, the concern now should be how much of backlash, or if you like, bad marketing or demarketing does this do to our image as a country? Because, first of all, I spoke with a lawyer yesterday on Scale of Justice, and he said, if you have a system, if you have a country like Nigeria, where your insecurity concerns are very high, very rife, you're already warding off potential foreign direct investors, because nobody wants to put their money where there's rancor, where there's conflict, where they are not sure that their businesses can be sustained on account of insecurity. And then you wonder how many other countries are seeing us in that light. So it's pretty much like putting water in baskets, because on the one hand, we're going abroad, we're going from one country to another, marketing ourselves, marketing our different sectors, and then we're back at home showing them that our space is insecure. And of course, once that sort of advisory comes out from the US, most countries, most of those entities in the international community are going to trust such a report because they believe it is hinged on credible intel, which simply means that beyond maybe the president's handlers now or the security outfits now trying to do some sort of damage control or narrative peddling at this point in time, which is important, but beyond all of that, we must now do what is essential, what is timely, and what is our duty to ensure that, yes, we may not have any country in the world where there is 100% security, but to what extent are we ready to work hard enough to minimize this? Because you can't run a country under such circumstance.
No, you cannot. And it's just a shame on the dent it brings on our image as Nigerians. Like you said, talking about the embassy, 23 had been laid off as higher risk. You see, that takes a toll on our image, like you mentioned. And of course, that is closing doors. These are important doors that Nigerians need to reckon with. And we're not there. And it's just unfortunate that this is what it is. And that is why I mentioned at the beginning, I said, once we solve the problem of insecurity, every other thing falls into place. Because, of course, we know the toll in which it takes. For as much as the most important, and I will say, is what it does to lives, first of all, properties, and of course the image of the nation, which is Nigeria, showing that no one will want to reckon with a country that is not security savvy or sure. No one will want to do that. So at the same time, I think we have a lot to do when it comes to that area first. So it's not all about you writing every other thing. For as much as I always say, all sectors are important, please, when it comes to health, education, but at the same time, defense, security is number one. Because if a nation is not secured, how can you even go to work? How can you how can you sleep at night? That's one. How can you even think of going to the hospital? You might be attacked or something. So that is number one on the scale first. And that needs to be solved as soon as possible because it creates a big dent, a big hole in one's image. So the needful needs to be done in that area.
And as we begin to wrap up the program this morning, the advisory also highlighted, of course, issues around health, saying that health services in Nigeria are limited and inconsistent, all right? And then goes ahead to talk about how that generally health care in Nigeria neither meets standards in US nor in Europe. You know what that means. And you hold your breath for a second, maybe in shame, maybe in despair, maybe in the middle of feeling overwhelmed. And you ask yourself, is this not really the reality? Because you and I were here yesterday and we talked about how we're grateful that the Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors, NARD, finally called off the strike.
Oh, yes.
If that strike had gone as planned, it means by today, Joma, will be in day 3, because it would have started on Tuesday.
Yes.
So this would have been the 3rd day into that strike. And whether you know it or not, whether you're comfortable with it or not, these are the indices by which we are ranked or assessed or judged by other countries.
Of course, and then at the same time, let me just take you back about that. The woman was it in Bauchi or Kano that the surgeon forgot, was it the scissors in her stomach? Of course, in America, you cannot hear of such cases. And I give you a story of my family friend who the doctor made a mistake on when he was being operated on. Until today, he's speech impaired. He cannot speak because of that mistake.
Right.
And of course, do you actually, when you look at it critically, it's all about the brain drain that we are facing as doctors. Once you're not giving once you're not giving what is due to you, we forget about the passion that comes with this job, the integrity, I'm a doctor and all of that. Once you're not giving what is due to you, once you cannot afford to pay your bills, you can never give your best. Because once you look back, that's why you can't compare the standards of outside the country compared to what we have here in Nigeria. Like I said, it's not passion alone cannot feed your family. Passion alone cannot do all of these things that you necessarily need to do. So I think when it can align with the standards of the world, because when you go to the United States, the UK, India, you will find a Nigerian who are medical doctors, who are surgeons, who are performing surgery, and they are doing fantastic. Why? Because the ambience is all right. They are paid. They're giving what is due to them. They are giving that high integrity and respect. They don't have to linger when it comes to pay me what I have worked for. Right. So that is why you cannot compare, and that is why there is just that dilly-dally. Sometimes we'll praise the health sector for what they've done. When we have a kidney transplant hospital here in Nigeria. There's some very good medical centers here that we have in Nigeria, and then at the same time, people complain that they're not getting value for their money. The doctors are not enough. Doctors are leaving. You cannot get it right. And that is the truth, because some of these doctors are so unhappy. I have a friend who, the way she stands and tells you she's a doctor, back in the day, she's always so proud of the profession. Now she tells you, Jumai, it's just that I don't have enough money now. I'd have gone. She tells I would have used in the picture for Japan a long time ago. I think when we do the needful, when we understand that this particular sector is of importance to you and I, because God forbid, the thing is, once there is an insurgency in a particular state, and these families who are short and they need to be brought back to life, where do you take them to? Where do you take them to? The hospital. So that is why these particular sectors need to be up and running. It's very important. I think the needful needs to be done.
All right, so well, you're hearing from the health anchor yourself, and these are issues of health, quite frankly, but Nigeria will survive when it's all said. And
there's a song that says Nigeria will survive.
From way back, yeah.
Yes.
It's an evergreen song, right? That's our program for you today, everyone. Thank you so very much for watching. I'm Uyi Agmofwebe.
And I am Jumai Manson. Thank you all so much for being a part of the program. And of course, from we and I, we say bye-bye.